How's everybody doing tonight? And it is nighttime. It is 11:38 p.m. On what is this, Monday night, April Fool's Day. So this is a typical night for me. My days generally run. I get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I go to bed at about 3 or 3:30 in the morning. So I get usually about 5 hours, 4.5, 5 hours of sleep. And that's pretty typical for me. That's just the way it's always been. But I don't enjoy that. I love to sleep, but it's just the way it is. And for me, I try to work when my family goes to sleep in the evening. So I try to come home, 5, 6 o'clock if I can, and spend time with my family, hang out with them. Especially now, I've been gone for the last 10 days, almost straight at trade shows and meetings, and so I really trying to spend as much time as I can with my family for the next couple of weeks while I'm home until I have to go again. I know I've got trips going to Boston to meet with the Grommet middle of the month, and then I'm going to Southern California to work with a group called Giddy Up, marketing group, sales group that I partnered with and work with there. So a lot of things going on. So I'm trying to. This tax time, April 1st. So I'm working on trying to get everything to my accountant, get everything all straightened out for that. I am one that is never able to get my taxes done on time, so we file an extension a lot, which we're doing that this year, so that we have until October to get our taxes done, and that makes life a lot more manageable. And then I can typically, comfortably, we can get taxes done around June. I tend to prepay most of my taxes. I have a pretty good idea of what my tax costs are going to be, so I try to get those prepaid, and so that's all done. But and it's just the filing basically that has to go on, and that takes a little bit of time. And I travel so much first quarter of the year especially that it's just nearly impossible for me to get this done on time, but such is life. And I very excited about taking you all on this trip with me, and mentoring you guys in any way that I possibly can, teaching you about what I do. I'm going to try and be as real and straightforward as I can, and let you see the good, the bad, the ugly. There's great things to be an entrepreneur. There are terrible things to be an entrepreneur. Probably the loneliest career that you'll ever have, and you don't become an entrepreneur to a lot of friends. You have a lot of people that want something from you, and you'll have very few true friendships other than the people that you work with. You can develop some pretty amazing relationships and friendships there. Typically friends and family, you lose a lot of that. At least from what I've seen, I see very few true entrepreneurs who have very successful friendships. I always tell people it's probably the loneliest career out there. Can't really talk to your family that much about what you do. Is you have so much stress and things weighing on your shoulders that you try to unload that stuff to your family, and it makes things more difficult. Then your wife's stressed out, or your significant other stressed out, or your husband stressed out, and you have to deal with that now too. So it's just easier sometimes to just keep it kind of close to your chest and deal with things that way. And Oh, it's challenging. A lot of things. Starting a business. Let's talk about that a little bit. I am just launching this company called Genesis Bath and Body. So this is a very unique business, and we'll get a little bit more into what the details of that are. But starting a business, pretty simple for the most part. Filing paperwork with the Secretary of State. You got to figure out, what it's going to be, a limited liability company. Are you going to incorporate, you get it as a corporation, and partnership. If you've got other entities, is it going to be a sole proprietorship? There's lots of different ways that you can organize the business. So things like that you have to deal with. Make sure that you've got a good accountant or bookkeeper. If you possibly can have access to doing that, that's always a good thing to do. If you can get advice from an attorney, that's always a good thing to do too. But you can look up a lot of things and try and do a lot of things yourself. But realize that there's a lot of complications and challenges with filing the business that you may not understand, you may not know. So for me personally, I always set up my businesses, limited liability companies, LLCs, and that's always worked out really, really well for me. And it's a good business structure and tends to be the most effective for what I do. You can grow an LLC as big really as you want to. And then, if you need to switch that to something else, corporation or something in the future, then you can go through the steps in which to do that later on. But that's the process basically for getting a business started. Obviously, you've got to look at funding your business, obviously, right? How are you going to do that? And for me, I try to bootstrap everything myself, meaning that, I try to fund as much as I possibly can myself. I've always funded what I've done myself. This is actually the first time that I'm taking some accredited investors, some people that have some financial wherewithal, and I'm allowing them to come in and buy or invest into my business. This is the last one that I'm doing, so this is the first time that I'm actually allowing that to happen with a business that I launch. It's a little new to me, so I'm dealing with that right now, getting some friends involved and some acquaintances involved in it. And that's kind of an exciting thing. It's a new challenge, something different that I'm doing. And I'm excited to see how that works, and I'm excited to be able to change their lives, right? Typically the businesses that I've been involved with, you invest your money and you wind up with a 30, 40x, 50x return, and sometimes way bigger than that. And it's I've always said, betting on myself has been way better than dealing with the stock market. That's not the way it is for most people, but for me, I've been pretty lucky that way. I've had some ups and downs, I've had some challenges for sure, but for the most part, I've done really well, and I'm very confident in my abilities to be able to do things. For instance, a company that I'm the CEO of right now, Carbon Clean, and you're going to hear that name a lot. We make the leading cleaners in the world, the number one cleaner in the world for eyeglasses called Peeps Lens Cleaner. We also have the leading cleaners in the world for cleaning smartphones, tablets, you name it. We're launching a new product this year called Touch Clean, which is an automotive cleaner. So I've been going around and working with people on launching that. In fact, when I go to see the Grommet here in a couple of weeks, working with them to do a launch with Touch Clean, and very excited about that. That the Grommet's going to do that with us. And then we also have the Giddy Up, this big group that I work with, that we're going to do a big launch with them too. So until later, thank you very much for hanging out, and look forward to talking with you soon.